think we're live. Good morning. Is it morning where you are? It's morning here. Well, not too early in the morning. Because if you follow me on Instagram, and I shared last night, I kind of decided last minute that I was going to do this. And I said, I'm not getting up early because the kids are at this magical stage where they're big enough to serve their own breakfast, which, I mean, I'm back to sleeping in on Saturday mornings. This is a new milestone in being a mom. It's very exciting. So I'm just going to hang out here for a little bit, wait for some folks to show up. So as far as the agenda, hey, Greg, good morning. As far as the agenda is concerned today, we're celebrating 1 year here on the Bite Shot. Oh my gosh. And they said it wouldn't last. Well, no, nobody said it wouldn't last. Hey, Nicholas, welcome. Uruguay, very nice, very nice. Mavis, hello, welcome. Rebecca, hi. I'm so glad you guys are here, and thank you so much for. Hey, Sean, I love what you do. I think I've seen a couple of your videos. Hey, thank you. It's not just my anniversary; it's your anniversary too. So many of you. It's so much fun to see like the names that pop up that I know have been here since like day one, and since we had like those first 100 subscribers. So it's really exciting to get to share this with you, and it was really fun too. Because I was looking through the analytics. I was just kind of curious, like how long did it take, to really start to gain steam on this channel? And I didn't even hit 100 subscribers on this channel until it took like 10 weeks from the launch date, which again is pretty short in terms of the world of YouTubing. But it wasn't like overnight. Suddenly folks started showing up from all over the place. It did take a bit of time. So anyway, thank you so much for being a part of it. Yes, Greg is from Denver. I have met Greg in person. He was a part of one of my workshops. So anyway, the to-do list, those who follow on Instagram saw that I sort of have decided to do this video because I recently cleaned out my props collection. I have a whole area back here in the back, which was just chock full of stuff that I just wasn't using, right? It's just like camera gear. You buy a bunch of things thinking, I'm going to use all of this, and you really only have like a certain amount of go-to items. So I thought what would be helpful is to go through some of the things that I'm actually getting rid of and why they weren't awesome props. I'm not going to do a ton of that because I'm literally getting rid of like 3 giant boxes. People have asked if they can have some of these discarded props, and they're getting discarded because they're not great props. So I don't want to necessarily like give them to anybody or charge anybody to take them because they're not great props. But I will be taking them to my local Goodwill probably this afternoon. So that's over at, which one am I going to take it to? I'll probably take it to 32nd Street in Cactus if you're in Phoenix. So just FYI. Oh, I love it. The live isn't clear. Is anybody else having technical issues? Can you hear me? Can you see me? I've got my light going on here, got all the things. So I'm going to go through the props. And then I also have a giveaway. We're giving away a Spider 5 Pro, one of the monitor calibrators. So I had forgotten, again, I went through like and cleaned out all of my cabinets, and I am such a dingbat. I had forgotten that I had bought one to do a giveaway, and then Spider had hosted the giveaway. So I gave that one away. Well, I ended up with an extra one. Then I'm like, I meant to give this away, and I never gave it away. So we're giving it away now. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in the link. So you can go ahead and enter the giveaway. Boom, right there. So be sure to enter the giveaway. It's going to be open for 2 weeks. So you can go ahead, put it all in there. I'll keep you updated if there are additional ways to enter throughout the course of the 2 weeks. I, of course, will update in the community section here on YouTube, as well as over on my Facebook and my Instagrams, which are all linked in the giveaway. So be sure that is open worldwide, internationally. So wherever you're from, I will ship it to you if you win. Good. I'm glad we're not having any technical difficulties. So yeah, and feel free. I'm glad you like the pancakes. Maybe you mean the waffles. I did post a picture of the waffles this morning. Those were some really darn good waffles. So anyway, yeah, let's get into some of the props that I'm getting rid of, why they're not great props. You guys want to do that? And then from there, we'll do, hey, what's shaking, bacon? And then we'll do some Q&A. Sound groovy? All right, perfect. So here's some of the props that I'm getting rid of because anybody else have this problem? Like you buy things and you're like, this is going to be an amazing prop. And then you get it home and you're like, no, this is not. Hey, Robin's here. What's up, Robin? All right. So first, I got some really humorous ones. So first one that I'm getting rid of is this. Now, this is not a primo plate for me. First of all, well, I think mainly this has not been a primo prop, and the reason I'm getting rid of it is because, I don't know, like this is just a lot. It's very, I think if you had the right food, if you had a very like modern dish, modern cuisine, like something a bit more chef driven, this would make sense. But I mean, this is very bold, this is very intense, and it like kind of takes over in a certain regard. Like I think you'd have to have the perfect food for this. So this is not like a super versatile plate to work with. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I got this at IKEA and it still has the price tag on it. So I think I used this maybe once, like 4 or 5 years ago. So I'm going to get rid of that one. Yep, exactly. Single-use props. I am not interested in that. Anybody who is a big fan of Alton Brown, any Alton Brown fans out there? He's on the Food Network. He's had an amazing career in cooking and food entertainment. But he says, you know, there's no place in his kitchen for single-use tools, which I couldn't agree more. Like when you don't have all the space in the world to have things you can only use for one particular function. Now there are certainly things that I still use that have only one, like a waffle iron. There's really only one use for a waffle iron. Okay, let's see what else we're getting rid of. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. I thought these were going to be awesome when I first saw that. Again, this was a purchase maybe 3 or 4 years ago. It was this melamine. I'm terrible about taking the price tags off of these things. I just washed it with the price tag on. This is what happens when stuff is just for props purposes. So this one, you can see, do you see this ridging and this bumpiness? For some reason, when I bought it, I didn't notice it. But when you try to photograph with that, like that is very distracting. And I do like kind of this like texture and painting, but if it was just real ceramic, it would just look a lot more convincing. So a big part of what I'm getting rid of in this whole like purging of props is a lot of melamine stuff, because I don't know, it never quite reads real to me. And again, these bumps are kind of killing my killing the vibe. It does have a nice texture though. You met Alton Brown, Greg? That is amazing. That is super awesome. Sean, you're right. IKEA is the worst for getting the labels off. So is if you buy anything at a Kroger store, they have it's like Dish and Dash, or I forget what the brand is. They are the worst for getting the price tags off, or they're like their little tags. Like you got to get out the Gooby Gone. You got to get next level. Like a little soap and water ain't getting rid of those puppies. It's like so obnoxious. And they put it like on the front of the dish. Fortunately on these, it's just on the back. So it's like, I don't really care, you know, if it's just prop stuff. But when it's like on the front of the dish, you're like, come on, man. I'm glad I'm live too. Super fun. So yeah, you were probably getting ready to watch this week's video, and now here I am in the flesh. Let's see. So Gansey Tech Nerd says clients who see the portfolio want the same shoot replicated, including the prop. You don't know how to handle that. Well, you know, if you don't have those props anymore, it's kind of only so much you can do, right? Now, like this little guy, I don't know. Okay, there's a time and place for black for sure. Like I've got some black matte plates that I recently got, and some like pottery that's got a lot of texture to it. But this is plastic and black, and there's just something about it that doesn't work. Now I do like the actual like depth. I love this kind of depth on a bowl, because you can still shoot 3/4 and still see a lot of what's going on inside the bowl. But just the plastic aspect really kills it. Now, if you want some good black matte, if you're here, at least in the US, Bed Bath & Beyond I don't know if they still have it. This was maybe 3 or 4 months ago, had a run of black matte, like a whole set. And actually Target does as well in the Hearth and Home, that stuff by Chip and Joanna Gaines. They have some that's got some kind of irregular edges, but it looks a lot more realistic and not quite so chintzy, if that makes sense. So anyways. Oh, let's see. And feel free, WD-40 or Monster drinks. Marshall, you're saying that I can put those Monster drinks on and it'll remove any adhesive? I think Ryan's got one of those in the fridge. Marshall, you might have just inspired a new video. Or Marshall, if you do videos, you should do a video on that. I would totally watch that. That's awesome. Let's see. Lemon essential oil takes the sticker right off too. See, look at you. Okay, I feel like this needs to be a video now. Things that take off labels. See, you guys have the best ideas. Feel free, though, if you have your own channels, feel free to like take that one and run with it. Oh, yeah, Sheena feels my pain. She's got a props collection issue as well. Okay, I'm gonna write that down though. Removing adhesive. Because I know I was wildly fascinated by the things that prevented things from browning video. That was eye-opening and fascinating to me. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more props, and then I'll be done with props. Then we can just do Q&A. Okay? Sound good? All right, let's see what else. Okay. I so wanted to love this. I totally wanted to love this. Where is this from? Real simple. Okay. So I wanted to love this bowl so bad. And there's actually some more shallow bowls that I think are in the other box that I'm getting rid of stuff. But this green is very hard to photograph. Like I did several shoots with this and ended up not loving the pictures. I shot noodles in this. I shot some salad in this. For some reason, this tone of green just had a little too much of whatever wrongness in it that it just really conflicted with the food in terms of color. And so, you know, when we talk about food, and this is something I've really been personally working on more and really trying to educate myself more in, is the specifics of color theory. I mean, I understand the basics of complementary colors and things like that, but really digging in deep to understanding the psychology of colors, how colors work together. And so this green and food, they look beautiful in real life, but in the camera, it just always, I don't know. I would always have to mess with the bowl in terms of the HSL to get that to look right. So unfortunately, this one's getting rejected. I'm sorry, little bowl. I loved you. I loved you while I had you, but it ain't gonna work for food photography. So Greg says, oh, a video reviewing Bite Shop members' portfolios. That could definitely be a lot of fun. I'll write that down. I do every 2 weeks now. I was doing it every week. It was too much. Every 2 weeks in our Facebook group, we have a new contest or a new challenge that runs. And then I pick my favorites out of the images that are submitted for the challenge. And then I review those. I critique those. So definitely, if you are not currently in the Facebook group, Greg, I already know you're up to snuff on all that, but anybody who's in here who's not familiar with that, definitely go jump over in the Facebook group. It's facebook.com/groups The Bite Shot, and you got to answer 3 questions. Make sure to answer them fully. My admins are super duper picky. They only want to make sure that there are cool people in the group who are going to be positive additions and super helpful. Oh, Estefania, I don't know what happened. Definitely give it another try. Don't just use one-word answers is the other thing. But Estefania, I'll check. I'll go look at your, I'll have to look. I'll jump into the Facebook group right after this and go check it out. Make sure we get you in there. But yeah, so we do that every 2 weeks, and I critique photos, but that would be fun to review somebody's portfolio for sure. Melinda wants a favorite props video. Absolutely. I'm really trying to simplify my props. I mean, I still have like a whole half a garage worth of props, but I definitely have some go-tos. So I am happy to do a view of that. Oh yeah, Greg's an admin, and so is Robin. So Estefania, they'll see you. They'll see you if you want to jump over in there. Let's see. All right. Got all sorts of good questions coming in. Yes, Jessica, I am working on a future video on color theory. I really want to make sure, like I'm reading a bunch of books right now. I'm really trying to educate myself, really dig deep into it. So it's more than just telling you like, well, hey, orange and blue are complementary, right? Like we want to take this to the next level. So, so once I get myself to the next level with color theory, I'll definitely share all that with you. Let's see, what else? Okay, I'll do 2 more props. How about that? 2 more props that I'm getting rid of. Okay, I'm getting rid of a lot. Well, this one is probably the most humorous. Okay, so obviously I didn't buy this thinking, oh, I'm going to use this all the time. I bought this for a video for, I bet you could guess, for a New Year's Eve video shoot for a client. That's probably a year, 2 years ago. It was a single use prop. I used it. The client paid for it, but I like why I'm hanging on to this. I have no idea, but ain't that fancy. Sorry, little guy. You're gonna go by the wayside. You're gonna get pitched. Well, he's not gonna get pitched. He's gonna go to his home at the Goodwill. All right, let's see. And one last prop. Okay, this one. So first of all, I have an overabundance of white plates, so I just didn't need more white plates in my life. I also had a bunch of these. I'm keeping one of these, but I'm getting rid of 3 of them. But to be honest, I don't use this plate very often. This plate, just in terms of this little ridge, like just always for some reason throws me off. And the way that this little edge is, there's something about it that makes the picture feel like dated to me. Like it doesn't feel current. And even like when I'm doing vintagey stuff though, it doesn't fit in with vintagey. So like there's just something about the design of this plate that's just never really like grabbed me. I've got other white plates that I'd rather use that are either flat and basic and simple or something with some texture, some ridges, but there's just something about this that's like, I don't know, old school Mexican restaurant, which I mean, I love old school Mexican restaurants, but it's just something about this plate that I'm like, oh, I'm not keeping that little guy. So, and he's by Threshold. I don't know where I got that. Probably the grocery store. I buy a lot of stuff at the grocery store because I'm already at the grocery store and they've got like the little home goods section and then I get in trouble. So anyway, that one's getting pitched. But yeah, I'm getting rid of all sorts of props. So hopefully we can simplify. But then I can do a video for you of my favorite props because I've probably got some of them sitting around. No, actually I don't. But yeah, that video coming soon. All right, let's see. Any other questions, guys? Because I think that pretty much, let's see, we've got the giveaway. Make sure you throw your giveaway in here. Make sure you enter the giveaway. It's going to be up for 2 weeks, open internationally, worldwide. I'll be sure to follow up and let you guys know who the winner is once that is announced. Let's see, any tips for styling and shooting photos for print and a cookbook? How do you shoot food so it doesn't look gigantic and looks realistic in size? So Anna, that's a lot. There's a lot that goes into that. But definitely one tip for, styling for a cookbook, it totally depends on what is the theme of the cookbook? What is the point of the cookbook? Like, is this meant for home chefs, home cooks? Is this supposed to be quick and easy 30-minute recipes? So we want this to look like very doable and very approachable, or is this supposed to be like chef driven, like celebrating local chefs who, have a lot of culinary achievements? So it really totally depends on the vibe, what you're going for. But one thing just to pay attention to is to really, I would say, making sure that your monitor is properly calibrated so that the colors on your screen, I've got a video all about it, so definitely go check it out. And that's also why you should enter to win the giveaway for the Spyder 5 Pro. This giveaway is not sponsored by Spyder. I just personally use mine. I used it. I got a brand new monitor, just calibrated it. It was a brand new 4K monitor straight out of the box. And it said that it was pre-calibrated. I calibrated the sucker. No, the reds were totally off. I don't know. The reds and greens. But yeah, definitely I would say making sure that the colors on your monitor are going to read true so that once they get printed, it's not like, wait a minute, what is that? Because you want to make sure that what you're working with on your computer is what the printer, which there are printer standards, will be able to process. And then I also recommend there's a couple settings. I can definitely, if you want to message me, I'll send you a couple references. I'm forgetting them off the top of my head right now. I don't do a ton of print work, so I always have to kind of look it up. But yeah, so definitely though, making sure that your monitor is calibrated would be super duper helpful. And so as far as if you don't want those super tight up shots, then it is going to, I think it takes a lot more work then to ensure that you've got some really quality propping and that it doesn't look staged and it looks natural. And unfortunately, a lot of that does definitely come with time, but I would say also look for some other cookbooks that you like. Whenever I'm shooting for a client, something that's really, really helpful is to go and pull other images and have reference points to say, is this the kind of work that we're going for? I'm doing a shoot 2 weeks from now at a farm. And it's a really cool farm where people can go and have like a day-long experience with, celebrity chefs. And it's this really, really cool, like, farm to table experience. And, they need some images. And they're like, we don't want just like images of our food. We want to really get into the ingredients and kind of the ethos of the place. And so we've been going through a lot of sample images and saying, okay, is this kind of what we're going for? And they're like, yes, this is absolutely, or no, that's not. And so definitely when you're doing a cookbook too, because I have to think you're probably collaborating with other people and have to get their buy-in and input as well, is to have some reference images to go to. And so Pinterest is a great place for that, or just Google, look those things up and start creating a mood board. I think that'll be really helpful for you. So James has a question about a video on the business side of photography. So James, so the business side of photography, I'm currently working on an all-encompassing deep dive, like one-stop shop for shooting in restaurants and the business side of things, from being able to not only book that first shoot, how to find clients, how to pitch clients, templates that go along with that, as well as a pricing guide. What else is in there? A packing list. How do you survey the client? A survey form that I use in order to understand what's the scope of the project, so that then I can also accurately price that out. Proposal form. I mean, it's like everything start to finish. How do you handle various lighting situations on location? How do you handle the communications with the chef and the kitchen and the timing and all the things that I have learned because of all the mistakes I have made over the last however many years of shooting in restaurants, and then all the way to the delivery of images. So clearly that's more than I could deliver in a 20-minute YouTube video. So it is going to be one of my premium courses, but that is coming. I am currently in the process of putting it all together, making it all spiffy, making it all fabulous. A lot of stuff's at the designer being worked on right now, but that will hopefully be ready. What is right now? September. So my hope is that that will be available for you by October 1st. So just stay tuned for that. Cool. Hopefully that's okay and that helps you out. But there will be some other YouTube videos in that similar vein. Of course, you will get like all of the everything in the course, but I'll also have tons of helpful pointers in that direction. So more business content for sure is coming, James. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, Robin's got a great question. If a client pays for a specific prop, does the photographer always get to keep it, or sometimes is it sent to the client after the shoot? So Robin, it totally depends. For most of the work that I do, oh, somebody didn't like me. That happens. I'm not for everyone. So it depends on the shoot. So a lot of the clients that I shoot for, I am shooting by myself here in my studio. They send me the stuff and they tell me what, like, for example, Coach's Oats. I did a shoot yesterday. Now, they didn't have any specific prop requirements. They just kind of said, here's the recipe that we want, here's the product. And then we went from there. But if they do have specific requirements and I'm shooting it by myself here in the studio, many times I'll purchase those props and then I just get to keep the props. So I have amassed quite a few props through those kind of projects. But there's been other shoots, like, for example, like a cookbook that I shot. And so I was on location shooting that with the client and their designer and who else? Like, it was like a lot of various people were there, the chef, food stylist, all that. The props person provided all of the props, and so they kept the props. So that was a situation where I didn't keep the props. So it just kind of depends on the scenario. Let's see. All right, so you're a food blogger. You started with the 18 to 55 millimeter lens, and you went to the nifty 50, and you want to upgrade once again, take it to the next level. So Sharif, I would recommend a 100 millimeter macro lens. To me, so I mostly only use two lenses. Like, if you follow me on Instagram, you see all my posts, they're mostly two lenses that I'm using. I'm using a 50 millimeter Sigma Art f1.4. So that recently replaced my nifty 50. And then the other lens is a 100 millimeter macro f2.8 lens. Those are like pretty much 99% of what I shoot. Every so often, for whatever reason, if I need a wider shot, or if I need some added flexibility, I'll throw my 24-70 f2.8 lens on there. But to be honest, since getting the 50mm f1.4, I don't use the 24-70 barely at all. So it does depend on your style. But I think for food, 100mm f2.8 macro is just such an indispensable tool, because you can get those really beautiful up close and personal detail shots and really be able to, make the food the focal point. But you can also, you don't have to shoot everything super up close with a macro lens. It still does beautiful work from further back. And I really love the compression that you're going to get on the edges. You think of the opposite of like a 24mm, 18mm, you get some of that like distortion on the edges is what we call it, kind of that bowed effect, like an exaggerated version of that would be a fisheye. Well, the opposite happens when you go into those longer focal lengths. You get kind of this compression that really then brings your subject forward. So I think 100mm would be my next stop on the lens train for you. All right. So Sophia wants to know about artificial light for videos. So I actually am doing this week's video is all about the artificial lights that I own. I will go through everything from my very first artificial light purchase, which was the Lowell Ego, the little $100 solution. I've done a video on that before, but that was my very first artificial light. I'll go through my LED panel that I use that is currently lighting my face that I use for all my videos. And then I'll go through my speed lights as well as then my studio strobe mono light. So I'll go through all that, like when I'm using which one, why I would use one over another in a particular shoot in a particular situation. So hopefully that will be a good standpoint if you want to deep dive into artificial light, because most of the artificial light anymore that I shoot for stills is mostly flash based, but flash is definitely, there's a learning curve there just in terms of understanding how flash behaves and how the exposure is dictated in contrast to working with just continuous light. So that's why I've got that deep dive intensive course. So definitely if you want to take your artificial light game to the next level, that is still available. All right. Let's see. All right. So, Estefania wants to know if your contracts, do you set a period of time for the client to use the photo, or if they become the owners of your image forever? So my approach to working with clients and image rights and all those things is I keep it very, very simple, because I do not want to make this super duper complicated. I also work with a very specific type of client. Generally, it's smaller individual, smaller restaurants or regional chains. I've done some national chains before, but then also a lot of just food products and kind of medium to large size food brands. And so my general approach is that I always retain full copyright. So I can always use those images however I want. Now people say, well, do you go and resell those images? I don't. I've never really gotten into the stock photography world. And most of the images that I'm creating are very specific to the clients. Like, to try to resell an image of something that's featuring somebody's product would just, nobody's going to want to buy it. So, but I like to be able to retain the copyright of that. So if there's ever a reason or whatever, but I don't put a limit just in terms of like their time of use, because to be honest, I'm not going to, after 2 years, suddenly go down and say, okay, who all's contracts have expired? Who do I need to be paying attention? Like, I just don't have enough attention to span in the day. So I just keep it very simple in terms of my contracts, that they have a right to the usage of that image in very specific parameters, right? That they cannot resell the image, that they can use it on their social media, they can use it on their website, they can use it in magazine features, they can, as long as there's a byline for me and that I'm credited as the photographer and, those sort of things, that is all within the scope of their use. So as long as they can't resell it. But other than that, I keep it super simple, because I don't have time to make it more complicated than that. Here's the Water wants to know if I ever rent props. I have never personally rented props, but I definitely know there are a lot of people who do. If you follow Hot for Food here on YouTube, Lauren Toyota, she's phenomenal. I love her photography. I love her YouTube channel. I love her recipes. I'm not vegan, but I love her channel. I know that she rents props, and I believe she's somewhere in Canada. If I'm not mistaken, I believe she's in Toronto. I could be wrong about that. But there are definitely places where you can rent props. I just haven't ever personally. I've never needed a prop that I couldn't get or was too expensive to afford for the particular situation. So, all right, let's see. Yeah, okay. Let's see. How are we doing on questions? Did we get most of the questions? I know there's a lot of questions in here. I'm trying to look through. For those of you who have just joined, we do have a giveaway going on. It's going on for next 2 weeks, so feel free to submit to that. Let's see. Keto Bite, I'm so glad that you're seeing improvement in your food photos. That is so exciting to me. I love seeing it. Let's see. Okay, I think we're doing pretty good. All right. Well, I think that's probably about it. I've been going for about a half hour at this point. Yep, speed lights. Nicholas, I'll talk about speed lights in this week's video, so stay tuned. Do you use any camera filters? So Daryl wants to know. Daryl, I've got a video about filters. The only filters that I use are, I will sometimes, not often though, to be honest, I don't do it often. But if I'm in a situation, especially backlit, or if I'm working with drinks or shiny objects or things like that, I'll use a, a polarizing filter. I'm like, what is the word? Words are hard today. It's Saturday. I've not finished my cup of coffee. Oh, dang it. There's glitter in my coffee. I knew I needed to get rid of this thing. Oh, well, okay. So much for the coffee. But I use polarizing filters in order to cut glare in certain situations. So that's in the video, all about filters. Other than that, I don't really do work that requires, I don't do a lot of outdoor work, so I don't really require the use of neutral density filters, things like that. I do use UV filters to protect my lens. For example, I was shooting a video for a client this week. If you follow me and my Instagram stories, you saw that I got like super crazy. I did like a 120 frame per second shot of squeezing half a lime to include in a pico de gallo, and it was just like juice flying everywhere, and it was really cool in the final shot, but you know that got on the lens. And so I was shooting that with my 50 millimeter Sigma Art, and like, I do not want lime juice on that glass. So fortunately I had a UV filter on there, easy to clean up, no big deal. So yeah, definitely I love some UV filters for when we're doing splashes, things like that. Do I put a time limit for how long you spend with a client? So I don't, but that's why I'm very picky about my clients anymore. I think, at a certain point in your career, you'll get to a place where you hopefully have enough work that you'll be able to kind of pick and choose. Now, I though think even starting out at the beginning, like, you don't have to take every client that comes your way, because there will be high maintenance clients that I think the hardest clients are the ones who have outrageous expectations but don't know what they want. Like, they can't put it into words, or they can't, like, you can give them examples all day long and try to achieve what it is they're looking for, and they're just not going to be happy. And that's when you're wasting your time and their time, and that's just not the kind of client you want to work with. So fortunately, the clients that I all work with today are, we really understand each other. They get my style, I get them, understand what they're going for. And so everybody's happy in that regard, and we're not wasting a bunch of time. So I have fired clients in the past. I mean, I didn't like come in and say, you're fired. Like, I, very kindly just, said, let's not work together. Not necessarily, I'm trying to think of how's like the tactful way to do it. Generally, I'm working on a per project basis. So if there's a client that I don't want to work with and they come back around, either I will offer, hey, my rates have increased, and I'll increase it to something that perhaps they won't want to jump at, or I just say I'm not currently available for new projects. And so that's completely within the bounds of your right to do so. Not every client is worth doing work for. So, yeah. Oh, Stephanie, I'm so sorry. Those are really frustrating. But what is helpful when you do have a difficult client is that you learn a lot. And then hopefully you're not like in a contract with them for a long, long time that you're then stuck. So there have for sure been shoots that I have lost my shirt on just in terms of putting so much time and effort into something far beyond what I was getting paid. And so that's where you kind of learn and say, okay, in the future, like, clearly either I need to do a better job of scoping the project, communicating with the client, communicating expectations, kind of getting all those things out of there ahead of time. So that will come. That will come in experience. Huh. Okay, so Greg is talking about the roto light. I am not familiar with that, but I will put it on the list to do a little research. A particular light that I've not personally tried, but has been very, very popular in our private group for the Flash for Food Photography course. There's you get access to a small group there. There, the Paul C. Buff. I'm trying to think what it is, the Einstein lights. And those apparently, they're not expensive for what they are. I think they're about $500 a piece, $400 or $500 a piece. The real advantage with them though, is that you can do this action mode so that you've got a really short flash duration. So you can do those really intense like splashes and crashes, like you've seen, for example, Steve Hansen, very famous for his, milk flying through the air and like perfect stillness. And so you need high powered strobe in order to achieve that, just in terms of that flash duration being a really powerful light as well as very fast in order to capture that action. And so heard really great things. I've not personally used them, but everybody in the group who has them or has purchased them has been insanely happy with them. So those are the Paul C. Buff Einstein lights. So, but I think actually, Greg, I think you've seen that. So, but I'll look into that roto light for sure. Let's see, 100 millimeter with, wants to know what is the 100 millimeter with the crop camera, having difficulty using the 50 millimeter with the crop camera as it is. So I, prior to owning my 5D Mark IV Canon, which is a full frame, I did all of my work on a Canon 70D, which is a crop sensor. And I loved 100 millimeters on that one. I liked 50, but I loved 100 but maybe part of that is also my style. So I hear this every so often from folks who feel like 100 millimeters is just too tight a crop for a crop sensor. And I hear you. It was personally never a problem for me. Now, people will go, okay, but you got to do the math. And, 100 millimeters on a crop lens is then what, 140 or what? You guys know I am not the numbers guru. That is not my repertoire. I'm the artiste. And so for me personally, 100 millimeters was always fine. Now I am able to get, a little, like, just in terms of then moving to a full frame camera, it was definitely a bit of a shift in terms of using the 100, but I liked the 100. On the crop sensor, I never felt like it was too much of a problem. But if you're working in a super duper small space, that also might be a limitation. So some of that might be just your particular setup or your particular vibe. Some people really like a lot of space, and I totally get you. In which case, ain't nothing wrong with 35 millimeter, 50 millimeter. My only recommendation is if you're currently shooting a crop and you are buying lenses, is to just ensure that those lenses will work on both your crop, as well as if you ever, not that you have to, but if you ever do move to full frame, that your lenses will still transition with you. So I've got a video all about that. So some of the details in case any of that's murky for you. Advice for steamy food photography. So there's a lot of tricks for steam. Maybe at some point, it's not super high on my priority list of videos, but definitely it's like one that's back there, because there are a lot of little tricks. Like, there's all sorts of goofy tricks. If you get the book by Dolores Custer, I've recommended this before. It is the Food Styling book by Dolores Custer. She's got like a whole section on steaming foods. But one thing that is important in order to properly capture that steam, of course, you need the contrast. And so people get frustrated trying to capture steam with a white background. It's hard because there's no separation of the white steam off of the white backdrop. So it's going to be a lot easier if you have a dark backdrop. So steamy foods are great, like in, dark food photography situations. Same reason that like you blow a candle and that smoke is really great. Those kind of things are easier to capture in a dark food photography. So you've got a dark backdrop and you've got kind of moody lighting. It's a little easier to do that. All right. Let's see. So a 40 millimeter f2.8 better than a 50. Daryl, I have never shot a 40 millimeter, to be quite honest. Well, that's not true because I have a 24 to 70. So I'm sure at some point I've shot 40 on that 24 to 70. But I do like the 50 just in terms of really being a true picture. You're not getting the distortion on the edges. But again, I think, people say, what is the absolute, like, what's going to be the best? And I think, so much of it is the artistry. So my recommendation is before you jump into purchasing particular gear, if you have it available wherever you are, there's usually some sort of camera shop that you can go rent these things. Like I don't shoot events. I hate shooting events. It is my least favorite thing to do. Well, it's not my least favorite thing to, it's fine. But I don't love like weddings or, baby showers, things like that. But for certain family members who ask nicely and who I love a lot, I will do that kind of stuff. And so I shot my cousin's baby's baptism, and we were in the church, and like the baptism's happening far away. So I knew like my 100 millimeter is not gonna get me from the back of the church to the front of the church. Like I need something a longer focal length. So I'm trying to remember, I went down and I rented, I want to say it was a 400 millimeter. Like this thing, it was so beefy for somebody who shoots, 50 millimeters, 100 millimeters. I'm like, dear God, I feel like I'm on National Geographic. But it is really fun to play with other focal lengths, but not purchase other focal lengths. So there's definitely a lot of great camera stores where you can rent gear. And so if you want to play with it, I definitely recommend playing with it, but definitely give it some time, because I know for me too, there's been plenty of times I'll buy something or I'll rent something and be like, I love this. But then I tinker with it more and I push myself more. And then I'm like, oh, this is why this is awesome. So I always recommend giving things a shot, renting it if you can, but then also giving it a fair shake. At a restaurant, do you let the chef prepare the whole dish for you? Do you style it yourself with everything cooked and plated apart from one another? So, Catherine, it totally depends. And so much of that, this is all going to be a part of the course that I've got coming up here in October. But so much of that depends on that pre-consultation process and really understanding, first of all, what's their budget? Like, do they have budget for you to do the styling? Because I will charge more if I am styling or if I'm hiring a food stylist, which I do fairly frequently for restaurant work because there's a lot of things happening on an on-location shoot. So do they have the budget for you to do the styling? Or, there's plenty of like fine dining restaurants that I'll shoot for that their chef does a wonderful job. And so they just might need a little bit of coaching to say, hey, can you just point this kind of this direction and place the meat in this direction? Because I understand how the light is going to work. And so it just all completely depends is a terrible answer. But it really does. So there's not like a one sort of stop shop. Whereas like sometimes when I'm shooting for, I'm going to sneeze. Oh, nope. When I'm shooting things like there's a couple of PR agencies, I don't do this work as much now. But I used to, like a PR agency or a magazine would just need like a single shot of a dish. It was for a quick run in the newspaper, or it was not something that was going to be like some sort of long-term, something that would live on forever. Like it didn't need to be super high styled, super high quality. I would literally run in 5 minutes, get the shot, get out. Like it was not a big thing. But there are then of course shoots where they'll need me to do the styling, and so the chef will come out with the individual components and I will plate it, or I'll hire a food stylist who will do the plating, or it's a combination of the collaboration with the chef. So it all depends, but budget is important. Timing is important because it takes longer to do certain things. So again, more details to come, but great question. Hopefully that gives you some insight. Um, all right. Perfect. Well, I think we've covered a lot. We've covered a lot. Any tips for someone with horrible cooking skills? Yes, totally. First of all, just start cooking. That's a good thing. But I would say get to know there are probably other people who are looking to get into food styling. There are a ton of food stylists out there that depending on where you live. I don't know where you live, but there are a lot of people who are, like as a food photographer, you're just kind of getting started. And so you're building your portfolio and you want to get some stuff in there. It's a great opportunity to collaborate with somebody who's kind of in a similar position, trying to build their portfolio as a food stylist. And so in those kind of cases, collaboration can be a really great opportunity. And even when you're further into your experience, there's different food stylists that are here in Phoenix who I'll collaborate with and work with. There's actually a gal who just reached out recently, very accomplished, very talented food stylist. She just moved to the area from Chicago, and she said, hey, if you ever want to get together, we'll have a good time, because part of what makes us better as photographers too is just spending time doing our craft on our own terms, non-paid work, non-client work, just work that makes us happy and work that gets us being creative. And so, she reaches out and offers that. I think that's a great opportunity because that's advancing her portfolio as well as advancing my portfolio. And it's an interesting discipline to collaborate with someone else on images in terms of that creative process, because now there's two heads. So which will definitely happen. If you pursue this career, you will be in shoots where it's more than just you shooting. So it's a good thing to try out. All right. People have said I sound like Ellen. I look like Ellen. The other one is Jennifer Goodwin. That's mostly the short hair. I think it's mostly the short hair that has something to do with that. I love it. Good. Okay. I'm glad we got some good. Oh, Los Angeles, you're totally covered. There have got to be so many food stylists. So definitely. Thank you, Shauna. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Make sure the kids haven't mutinied in the other room. They're watching Saturday morning cartoons, so I think they're fine. But it's also very quiet. And as a mom, when it gets super quiet, that's when you worry. That's when you get nervous. So you can see what's going on in there. But yeah, don't forget to enter the giveaway for the Spider 5 Pro. It's right there. I'll post it a couple more times. I might throw a couple little curveballs and extra ways to win further into the contest. So stay tuned for that. It's open for the next 2 weeks. So keep your eyes peeled. If you're not currently following on Instagram, I highly recommend it because that's kind of where I do a lot of updates, especially in my stories, because that's just sort of where I'm sharing what's going on in the day-to-day. So definitely, if you're not already, be sure to follow along on Instagram so you can stay up to date. I'm sorry, Morton. I've been going almost an hour at this point, so I've probably yammered more than people need. I love it. So certainly, if you guys need anything else, feel free to give me a holler. Thank you, Sean. Glad to have you here. Catherine, so good to have you. And thank you for a 1-year anniversary. I'm going to go have pizza tonight. I'm going to carve it up because I've been so good recently, trying to eat good. But I was like, it's 1 year. We're going to go have some pizza. We're going to live dangerously. So anyways, happy Saturday, you guys. Yes, and Marshall, we're going to have a great year ahead. So any questions and any requests? I have the next 12 weeks worth of videos already planned, but I'm always taking new suggestions. So anyway, thank you guys. Again, much love to you. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for making this an amazing community to be a part of. And go take some beautiful pictures, okay? Okay? Go have fun. Bye.